If at least one of these adorable furballs is among the members of the UNIVERSEDOX YouTube family, it's possible to say that in every 3 persons' homes, at least one cat resides. Additionally, an equal number of people express contemplating cat adoption. I don't intend to tell you how cats are right now. You probably know many things about your cat better than I do. Despite behaving like they adopted us, most of our lives revolve around being their servants, fulfilling their needs, feeding, scratching their necks, cleaning their litter, taking them out, bringing them in, move from there, and a series of tasks. However, there might be something you don't know. 1 out of every 2 or 3 people who own a cat, after watching this video, may not be aware that their cat has given them a very special gift, even if unintentionally. It's this cute-looking, tiny parasite. After this parasite reaches your brain, your cat may have managed to control not only your time and attention but also your sexual impulses without you realizing it. The sweet and tough friendship between us and cats didn't start yesterday. It has at least a history of 99,000 years, and interestingly, unlike dogs, we are not the ones who technically domesticated cats, they domesticated themselves. As people around Cyprus and Egypt started building granaries and began storing surplus food thousands of years ago, as you can imagine, soon these food stores attracted mice. Cats, wanting to hunt the mice, followed. Initially, humans didn't have a particular interest in cats, they just noticed that the presence of cats kept the mouse populations in check. It suited them, so instead of driving away or killing the cats they found in the granaries, they chose not to touch them. In return, the cats easily increased their chances of survival by catching plenty of mice in these human granaries. Over time, we entered into a mutualistic relationship with cats, where we saw the initial steps of domestication syndrome in these animals. They adapted a bit to become more docile, but only to a certain extent. Of course, later, we grew fond of cats, and within a few thousand years, as we know from examples like the Egyptian civilization, we began to see them at the level of gods. But unlike dogs, for instance, we didn't make them an integral part of hunting or herding without hunting together, and for thousands of years, we didn't treat them with any particular kindness. Under the pressure of selection, a completely different looking and behaviorally patterned animal evolves from a wolf-like creature, such as dogs. Cats, having evolved from wildcats, became an integral part of our existence through a process known as self-domestication. This not only brought their soft fur and peculiar behaviors into our lives but also introduced some unique problems from their world to ours. The parasite mentioned earlier is just one of them, but to understand how this parasite turned us into sex machines, we first need to take a quick look at the main factor that brought cats to us, mice, and, of course, the relationship between cats and mice. You don't need to be a biology professor to know that cats are deadly enemies for mice. Watching Tom and Jerry as a child is enough, although cartoons simplify things. Mice do actively avoid cats at all costs. In fact, mice not only run when they see cats directly but also, thanks to their sensitive sense of smell, experience a rapid decrease in dopamine secretion, causing a sense of fear and uncertainty, even when they detect a cat's pheromones, airborne odor molecules. They quickly move away from that feeling to get rid of it. However, there is a parasite in nature that disrupts this balance. Let's meet Toxoplasma gondii, the parasite I've been mentioning without naming. Toxoplasma, being a parasite, doesn't provide any benefit to its host, in fact, it harms them. However, the harm caused by Toxoplasma goes beyond typical parasites. Toxoplasma takes control of its host's brain, altering their behavior patterns. And what a change! Toxoplasma-infected mice, when exposed to the scent of a cat, don't experience a decrease in dopamine in their brains. It actually spikes. Therefore, instead of fearing the cat's scent, infected mice become curious about it. Under the influence of this opposing hormone, mice, rather than fleeing from cats, choose to follow the scent, almost as if they want to be hunted. This bizarre behavior induced by Toxoplasma is termed fatal attraction in biology. So, why does Toxoplasma do such an absurd and complex thing? Because, typically, the larval forms and adult forms of parasites require different living environments and develop better in specific settings. For example, the spores responsible for Toxoplasma's reproduction can easily and rapidly divide in the bodies of mice. However, the adult forms of the parasite barely develop in mice and, more importantly, can only undergo sexual reproduction, the crucial driver of diversity, in the presence of specific enzymes in the cat's intestines. Therefore, for Toxoplasma to complete its life cycle, the reproductive cells accumulated in the mouse need to somehow reach the cats. However, this is not an easy task because merely getting the mouse to the cat is not enough, it also needs to make contact. Therefore, Toxoplasma, with the help of the chemical molecules it releases, reverses the hormonal processes that cause mice to fear cats, turning them into what can be likened to willing zombies. Toxoplasma not only affects mice, as I mentioned earlier, but unfortunately, it can also infect pigs, chickens, goats, sheep, kangaroos, and, as we'll see shortly, humans. But before delving into that, understanding how such a parasite evolved might initially seem challenging. However, if you think about it, grasping this isn't difficult at all. In the reduction of fear towards predators, once the right combination is caught, and mice become less fearful, especially when fearless mice can more easily reach cats, Toxoplasma strains that release this specific chemical soup are rapidly selected and become dominant. Thus, when we say Toxoplasma, we refer to individuals collectively causing these absurd behavioral changes. Understanding what happens next is not difficult. When a mouse with a hijacked brain becomes an easy meal for a cat, Toxoplasma quickly transitions into the cat's body. Cats, being highly active hunters, serve as excellent hosts for Toxoplasma to spread even further. The parasite grows, develops, and reaches reproductive age in the cat's digestive tract. Ultimately, the cat's body becomes so filled with the spores of the parasite that when other mice, birds, or farm animals attempt to consume nutrients in the cat's feces or when the feces contaminates other foods, they ingest Toxoplasma spores, and the cycle continues. Here's where the problem truly begins because, as humans, we live closely with cats, and we can come into contact with the places their feces touch. Transmission can occur while cleaning our cat's poop at home, or when feces come into contact with food, drinks, soil, or objects such as utensils, cups, and knives. Not only us but also our farm animals can transmit the parasite to us by coming into contact with the feces of sick cats. Moreover, in cases where we consume meat without proper cooking or drink unpasteurized raw milk, if Toxoplasma is present on that meat or milk, it can infect us. When Toxoplasma enters our body, it rapidly spreads to our muscle and brain tissues, causing a disease called Toxoplasmosis. The initial stage of this infection involves slowing down our body's response to infections through chemicals released by Toxoplasma, ensuring that the parasite is not hunted down by our defense system. But the parasite can do much more in our bodies. For example, it can cause ocular toxoplasmosis, a disease that infects our eyes, leading to eye pain, redness, blurred vision, and potentially permanent retinal damage. During pregnancy, it can cause a disease called congenital toxoplasmosis, transferring from mother to baby, and these babies unfortunately are born with many developmental issues, mental disorders, vision problems, and hearing loss. In individuals already suffering from a disease that weakens the immune system, such as AIDS, Toxoplasma can induce inflammation in the brain, leading to encephalitis, lung inflammation, and many other deadly diseases. Worse yet, Toxoplasma seems capable of directly altering our brains. Studies indicate that individuals infected with toxoplasmosis are more likely to experience schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, depression, suicide, and other mental illnesses. Moreover, these individuals show a decrease in IQ scores and a decline in psychomotor functions. Many studies have already observed such effects. In a study conducted in 2006, drivers involved in traffic accidents were found to have Toxoplasma parasites more frequently in their brains. Of course, traffic accidents can have many causes, but researchers found that even when considering other factors such as age or alcohol consumption, Toxoplasma infection might play a role in these accidents. Experts believe that the reason for this could be an increased tendency for risky behavior in individuals with Toxoplasmosis. In other words, the parasite seems to increase our likelihood of turning into a traffic monster, not a minor effect, indeed. There's even a study estimating that around 1 million people die each year due to the various effects of Toxoplasma, making it as deadly as the malaria parasite, and the potential impact of this tiny parasite doesn't end here. Toxoplasma, much like it disrupts dopamine secretion in mice, can alter the levels and timing of hormones associated with sexuality in both cats and humans, such as dopamine and testosterone. This, in my opinion, is one of its craziest side effects. These changes not only increase libido, sexual urges and desire, but some studies also suggest that the parasite enhances tendencies toward sexual fantasies like sadomasochism. In essence, this Toxoplasma parasite seems to influence our sexual activity. Well, not that much. You might be wondering how a cat parasite can cause so many symptoms. You're right. Because if Toxoplasma were such a deadly and bizarre parasite, almost all cat owners around you should either be dead or sex maniacs, but they're not, are they? How do we explain this? Actually, it's not that difficult to explain. Toxoplasma almost always passes both in cats and in us humans asymptomatically, meaning no symptoms are observed. So, there's a high probability that this parasite is already in your body right now. However, Toxoplasmosis is still a disease that should never be taken lightly. Due to the reasons I've mentioned earlier, early diagnosis and treatment of Toxoplasmosis during pregnancy and in individuals with weakened immune systems are crucial. Otherwise, we'll face fatal consequences for both ourselves and our offspring. The parasite's goal aligns with the biological purpose of the rest of life, reproduction as much as possible. Yet, it's not entirely clear how increasing our sexual activity benefits the parasite. Some studies even suggest that Toxoplasma can be transmitted sexually. Some experts think that the increase in libido provides a selective advantage to the parasite when infecting humans. Because certain studies cannot replicate the results claimed by previous studies or provide mixed results. For instance, out of 11 different articles I reviewed on this topic, 10 claim that Toxoplasmosis in humans creates behavioral changes through the transformation of fear into sexual drive. One, however, couldn't detect any decrease. One found the decrease but couldn't precisely understand its cause. Out of 19 articles examining the relationship between Toxoplasma and schizophrenia, 10 found a connection, 2 didn't, and the rest couldn't reach a definitive conclusion. The general problem with these studies is their inability to demonstrate a clear cause and effect relationship. Yes, the relationship between Toxoplasma and adopting a cat is still a topic not fully understood. Does Toxoplasma infection increase risky behaviors, or do individuals with a predisposition for risky behavior already prefer adopting cats? These questions haven't yet found a definitive answer, remaining one of the unresolved questions in the scientific community. However, I can say that adopting a cat does not pose a barrier as long as a healthy individual pays attention to general hygiene rules. It's important to be informed about Toxoplasmosis and take preventive measures. Generally, if you're healthy, there's no need to refrain from adopting a cat. Just understand and analyze scientific facts. Acting with reason and logic, benefiting from scientific knowledge, you can enjoy life with your cat, and overcoming such concerns will be worthwhile. Have a great day.